As human beings, as young adults, older adults, even little ones, we like things to go our way, don't we? Everything needs to go a certain way. We like things to flow in a nice, steady line. When something doesn't go according to plan, what do? We spaz out. We don't handle that well, okay? Things need to go exactly the way we want to. We need to plan a route. Things need to flow on a certain path. To prove that, how many of you have a GPS or your parents have a GPS in the car? No. People like to have a route planned out. It needs to flow a certain way. How many of you text message your friends to figure out what you're doing this weekend because you want to know what's going on? Beautiful. We like to have things planned. It needs to be a route. We like things kind of like plumbing. Have any of you ever gone down your basements and really observed the pipes in your house? I know it sounds strange. Good. Good. When it goes bad, you'll be the only one who knows how to fix it. Okay. If you've ever looked at pipes, you turn valve A on, water flows down, it goes through the elbow, it turns here, it turns right, it goes left, it goes up, it goes down, it goes to the shower head, then it bends back up and around, but it has a predestined path. The water moves exactly where it's supposed to. That's how we like our lives. I want to know exactly what's going to happen. I want to be in control. I want to be the one to operate the valve and turn it on or off, and I want everything to flow smoothly. And if something doesn't flow smoothly, God forbid. You see, the problem with having that kind of addictive behavior, everything has to be the way I want it, and it needs to flow exactly the way I want it. The problem with that is when something doesn't go according to plan, when things don't flow smoothly, we like to lie about it. We don't want anybody to know that our life is not going according to plan. And so when something starts to go wrong, there's a little leak in the pipework here, there's a little problem over here, we like to say, it's not a problem, don't let anybody know. I mean, how many of you love going up to your friends and being like, hey, I have this really big problem, I'm really ashamed of it, and I just can't wait to tell you about it? Does anybody do that? No. Maybe. It's okay. Nobody does that. We don't want people to know about it. We like to lie to everyone else around us. Then we have this other problem. We like to lie to ourselves about it. Oh, I know this is going wrong in my life. I know I have this problem. I know I have this issue. I know I have this thing that's not being dealt with, but I'm going to ignore it. I can fix it later. I can deal with it when I get to it. It's not a problem right now. And so that brings me to a wonderful Bible verse in 1 John. It says, if we say we have no sin, we deceive ourselves, and the truth is not in us. We love to deceive ourselves. We all have something that we are struggling with, something that is not going according to plan. But we want to lie to everybody around us and say everything's flowing right. We want to lie to ourselves and say all the pipe work is still running smoothly and I'm fine. I will deal with it when I want to. Maybe we have something wrong in our lives that's physically wrong with us. Maybe we have some kind of sickness, something going on in our family. Maybe someone in our family struggles with something. Maybe we have some type of mental problem. Maybe it's a depression. Maybe it's an anxiety. Maybe you just can't hold a relationship with someone and you just can't seem to figure out why. But we don't want everybody else to know about that. Maybe you have some type of personal problem on the inside. Maybe some type of questioning with God and you haven't found an answer for it. Maybe some type of addiction that needs kicking and it always seems like time is ticking on how much we can tolerate what's going wrong with ourselves. Time is ticking. Eventually, when the pipework isn't flowing right in your life, it will erode. It will break. It will crack. So, are we all clear that we like pipework? We like things to flow smoothly? Are we all clear that we will lie to ourselves and make everyone else believe that the pipes are still flowing smoothly when they're not? Could you all admit that you do that from time to time? Beautiful. Which brings me to my next point. I was a DCE at Concordia, not the River Forest one up here, but I was at Seward, Nebraska. All these points will make sense when we bring back. I was at Seward, Nebraska. And Seward, Nebraska was, how do I say this, a very boring little town in the middle of a cornfield. Nothing good in it, except for one bar that had great cheeseburgers on Wednesday nights for Dow. I ate a lot of cheeseburgers. And needless to say, while I was in the DCE program, they tried to kick me out of the DCE program on 3 different occasions for 3 different reasons. Now, to validate this, Tom went to school with me when I was at Seward. Tom, did they try to kick me out of the program 3 times?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
I was there for 12
They tried to remove me from the program a lot. And here were the 3 reasons. 1, we don't like the way you dress. Okay, everybody else had their little Dockers and khakis and their cool little Birkenstock shoes. They're wearing their sandals. Okay? And I would go to class in a pair of ripped up jeans and a tank top with my tattoos hanging out. And I didn't see the problem with that because We're in a school that's all about the gospel, and Jesus loves everybody, right? So what's the big issue? They're like, we don't like the way you dress, it's unprofessional. Okay, I can take that. Second reason they tried to kick me out. Aaron, we just don't like your general attitude. And I was just like, could you please describe that for me? They said, well, here, let's give us an example. One time in class, in adult adolescent psychology, we were going over a case study. If some teenager came to you with this problem, blah, 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 the professor exemplified it. And I saw one of my DCE classmates go, and the professor goes, what would you tell this youth as they're struggling with this issue? And I saw one of my classmates raise their hand and go, I would tell them that Jesus loves them. And I raised my hand immediately. I said, you are an idiot. Jesus loves you is not a Band-Aid that you can throw on every problem for every child. That didn't fly well when I called my classmate an idiot. But I just don't feel that Jesus loves you is something that we could just go running around parading on everything and make it better. I think Jesus is a lot deeper than that. I think he knows a lot more than just, oh, time Jesus, I'll fix everything. So I had a problem with that. I didn't like my attitude on that. The third reason that they wanted to kick me out was I thoroughly loved sleeping. How many of you thoroughly love sleeping? You don't love sleeping? You know? Okay, thank you. It's like serious circles underneath your eyes for us. Okay, so sleeping. And you see, if you thoroughly love sleeping, you don't make it to class. And college, no one's there to tell you to get up. And I lived in a little rickety house on my own. Like, the whole house was wood. The floor is wood, the ceiling is wood, the walls are wood. I'm not kidding, Tom. Was the whole house wood? It was gross. The bathroom was all made of wood. It was like you were in a cabin in the woods, except it was a house on the street. And I was living on my own, and I loved my pillow, and my pillow loved me. We were cuddle buddies. We spent a lot of time sleeping and going, And I missed a lot of class. And so my professor said, the third reason I want to kick you out is because you missed a lot of class. You need to fix this, Aaron. And I thought to myself, I can't really change the way I dress because I'm poor, and I can't afford to go buy Birkenstocks and khakis. So that one's not going to get addressed. Number two, my attitude. I know who I am as a sinner, and I'm very hot-tempered, and that one's going to not change anytime very soon either. So I'm going to go with number three. I'm going to try to get to class. Woohoo! I'm going to try to stay in this program by going to class. So I figured I need to be an adult. I need to grow up. I need to be something better than what I am. You know what adults drink in the morning to get them going? They drink coffee. So I went to Walmart on an epic adventure to find the perfect coffee machine. And I'm looking around, and I'm going through the aisles, and I've never bought coffee or coffee machines. I don't even know how to put the stupid filter in there. But I come across the aisle, and there it is, Mr. Coffee, beaming. Oh. And I reach in, and I grab it, and I flip over the box, and it does exactly what I think it does. It's one of those awesome coffee machines. It's got an alarm clock on it. It's like, boop, boop, boop. But at the same time the alarm clock goes off, it starts brewing at a set time. So I'm thinking, I'm going to be an adult. My alarm clock's going to go off, and then my alarm clock in the kitchen's going to go off, and I'm going to wake up, and there's going to be fresh, oven, roasted coffee beans in my house. And I'm going to be an adult. I'm going to make it to class on time. And I'm very excited about my coffee machine, so I set it up that night, and I get everything going, and I'm like, I'm going to fix this. I'm going to go to class. I'm going to be proud, and my professors are going to love me. So I go to sleep that night, excited. And I wake up in the morning, and the alarm clock in my room goes off. And you know when you're sleepy and you just wake up, not all your senses are functioning yet? So I just kind of, I hit that, and I hear the alarm clock in the kitchen going off, and I'm like, oh yeah, coffee. So I start walking out, and I'm like, I'm going to get my coffee. Start walking out there, and about halfway through the living room, I'm like, what kind of coffee did I brew up here? Thinking, Now, before I go any further with the story, I have to back up 2 weeks before this. Actually, 2 months before this. And also to why I was almost kicked out of the program. I want to give it away, but I'm going to back up a little bit further for you. I'm sorry, I had you on the edge right there, and I want to give it to you, but I can't. So, I was also suffering with some depression as a DCE. There was 1 week where I locked myself into my house. I didn't want anybody else to see me, and I literally crawled underneath my living room window to get to the kitchen to make Bisquick with just water and eat it because I was so ashamed I didn't want to leave the house. I was sitting in some serious depression, and I didn't want to seek help for that. I also had some other issues going on, some saddening things, some other things, some family things I wasn't dealing with, and I think a lot of that caused me to get into those areas where they were trying to kick me out. Along with that, I had this issue with the pipes in my house. This has been going on for 2 months. So when I would use the kitchen sink, I'd be like, doing some dishes, cleaning it off, I'd turn it off, and I would lean over and I'd hear this, and this belching, vomiting noise would erupt from my sink. And when it would come up, it smelled like a fresh fart that you just really didn't rub your face. And that was coming out of my sink, and I was like, this is where I'm doing my dishes. I should probably fix this at some point, but I'll get to it later. And then I would go to the shower, And I would realize that while I was in the shower over the course of the last 2 months, my shower was becoming more like a bath every day. The water was reaching higher and higher and higher, and it just kept coming up, and then it would start flooding out of the shower stall into the bathroom. I was like, I should probably fix that. But I really didn't care because the shower would drain as I went to class and come back 8 hours later. It'd be fine, I can put it off. And then the last thing that really should have given me a warning was my toilet. You see, when you go to the bathroom, there are two options, one or two, and I won't go into the details on that because you already know and you can cover that on your own. But I would definitely, I do number two. And this is gross. I asked if we could good crap it. You said yes. So I would go to the bathroom, I'd come back after class, I'd come back in, and then my number two would be staring me in the face again after I flushed it. And I'd be like, well, that's a little awkward, and I'd flush again, and I'd just go about my day. I think, I will fix this later. Much like the depression that I was suffering from, I will fix it later. They offer free counseling at the school, but I'll get to it when I get to it. Just like the plumbing. Oh, number two is coming right back up every day. I'll get to it when I get to it. So anyway, back to the story. I walk in the kitchen, I'm going to get my cup of coffee. What kind of coffee did I get here? And I lean over and I'm like, it smells like crap in my house. And I lean over to the coffee machine and I take a big red one. What is in my cup is definitely not Folgers. And so I look at the coffee machine and I'm like, and then I'm walking around the house and I'm going just like a hound looking for them. Where is it coming from? And you have to understand there's this back room and then another back room. And it's this little back step area, okay? It's like 2 steps down, there's cement all over, and there's pipework all over the walls. And there's a washer and a dryer machine, and then there's this big drain in the back there. And so I'm sniffing and I walk back and I open up the door and I take 2 steps down, how I look, my head's still up sniffing, and I go, step 1, step 2, splooge. And I look down. And there is the Dead Sea in my back room. And by Dead Sea, I mean a good couple inches of standing water full of fecal matter, used toilet paper, the most disgusting array of green and brown that I have seen merged together in quite some time. It's chunky, it's loopy, it's thin, it slides, it grows, it molds, it's disgusting. And my foot is very firmly in the poop. At which point I think to myself, my professor said if I miss class again, I would be kicked out of the program. I have to call them and explain this. So I go in the other room and I leave my shoe in the poop. I run into the kitchen and I grab the phone and I call and I go, Professor Tim, you're not going to believe this, but I'm not going to make it to class today. He's like, oh yeah, what's the excuse today, Aaron? Because I had used many strange excuses before to skip all these classes. And so I got to thinking, this is not going to sound real. But I said it anyway. I said my house is full of crap. The pipes, it's wrong and it's all over and I can't leave it like this. It smells absolutely horrid. I cannot leave my house like this. He's like, I'm not really buying it, Aaron. So, yeah. And he just hangs up on me. And I'm like, what do I do? I'm getting kicked out of the program. It's not my fault. There really is a house full of poop in my, you know? So I'm thinking and I'm thinking and I don't know what to do. And I can't remember if it was a bucket or a cup as I look back on it now. But I found a container and I took the container and I went down 1 step, went down the other step, and I took it down. And I got me a container full of poop. And I thought to myself, if you cannot prove otherwise, this will. And so I hopped in my car with my container of poop and I put my seatbelt on and I drove down the street and I walked in. This is a building called the TLEC building. It has 3 floors. And so I'm walking up these stairs with 3 floors. All these other DCEs and students are going, good morning, Aaron. I'm like, don't look at me. I'm ashamed of my poop. I'm trying to hide it. I'm trying to get up the stairs. And I'm wondering, everyone that I pass, can they smell it? Are they like, oh, Aaron, take a shower. So I get up there and I get to my professor's room and I go, Tim, boosh! And I put him on this thing. And he's like, and I'm like, I am not full of crap. And he sits there and he stares at it and he looks at me and he goes, go get your house fixed. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm like, yes! I'm still in the program. So, I go home, back to my wooden house, and I sit down on the chair, and I think to myself, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I walked back into the room, and I looked at the Dead Sea of poop, and I thought to myself, what am I going to do with you? And so I called the landlord, and she goes, I need help. the house, it's overran with poop, and it's gross, and the whole thing stinks, and I need your help. And she goes, it's not my problem. I go, but it's your house! She goes, you're gonna have to solve it yourself, and hung up on me. Now, my boss is a very vindictive woman. She's my landlord too, and when she says something is final, Tom worked for her. Is this not true? Would you be scared if she said you deal with it on your own? There we go. So, I'm left with that, and I'm flipping through the old pages, and I'm like, I need to find a plumber. And like I said, this is a small town in the middle of Timbuktu in a cornfield. It can't be that hard to find a plumber. I swear, it felt like a half hour of this nostril-filling, nauseating, looking for the plumber's number. Now, before we go too much further, I want to ask you guys to help Eric and I out. And it's not easy. You see, you guys know that there's law and gospel, correct? I don't need to go and explain all that to you, right? Okay. And one of the uses for the law is that it is a mirror. And sometimes we have to look at ourselves through the law. And it's not a pretty sight. And you don't have to do this. You do not have to do this. I'm not here to say, oh, you have to participate in this. You're not a good Christian. Don't think that, okay? But what's going to happen is Eric's going to put a line on here. Can you do that line for me? And like I talked about, I had some depression, I had some issues, I had some pipe work, literally, and metaphysically and spiritually that I wasn't dealing with. And so I kept putting it off saying, oh, I'll fix it later. Oh, I'll get to it. I know it's a problem. I know I have a sin festering inside of me, but I'll deal with it when I get the time to. And so what I want to ask you guys to do, and you can be as specific or as vague as you want to be, okay? But I want you to think of something that you know, some type of sin or issue that is festering inside of you that you have put off, that you've lied to yourself about, or you've lied to others about and said, I can deal with it later. Some issue. You could be as vague as, it's a spiritual problem, I don't care, okay? You don't have to be specific in case you're ashamed of putting something up there like that. Or you can be specific. I have a problem, I have an addiction with, fill in the blank. Or I have something else. I have an eating disorder. I have a cutting problem. I have this or that. I can't seem to make any relationship I'm in work because somehow it always screws up. I don't love my mom. I hate my dad. Whatever it is, I don't care. Whatever sin that festers inside you, I want you guys to put it below the line. Are we okay?
Yeah.
All right, good. Nothing exploded. Don't worry about that. You ever worry about me exploding? Yeah. So below the line. Below the line. I'm going to say it one more time. I want you to write this below the line. Now, I know that's 3 times. I feel like I'm mocking your intelligence. But Eric and I have done a lot of these shows. And I had a grown man once, a grown man, in his 50s. I said, below the line. He walked up to the pane and all over above the line. I was like, sweet. So below the line, something that festers with you, something that you are not dealing with, something that you know of that you don't want to acknowledge. And actually, if you could cue that stuff there. So, it's up to you. I'm going to put something up there. And if you guys want, you can take a marker, okay? They're right up here on the chair. You just walk up and put something on them. I know it's awkward. But trust me, the more words that get up on you, the better the pain will be.